Everybody, thank you very much for coming back. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces. And those of you that tolerated me last night, I gave a talk at Michelle's place on this whole lifestyle with the treatment of cancer. So appreciate you guys going to that. A couple of housekeeping chores before we get started. Number one, can we please give it up to Melanie for bringing the food? She's really helping. We're hoping her and I to write a book together. Any of you guys are welcome to join us. Because I'm the FOM, fat old man that people don't listen to. She's the young, pretty person that people will listen to. And hopefully together we can continue to get our message out. But I'd love to get any sort of input from you all on what needs to be in the book. We kind of want it to be like a workbook. So if I give this again, we kind of all do that. And a lot of it is the challenge of going from carbs to keto. It's very hard to go from carbs to a healthy fat diet. First off, just mentally, it's like totally different than everything we said. What was up was down, and down is up. So to me, it's all about the science. I know it's uncomfortable, but that's the way the world is, in the sense that way back when we thought the sun went around the earth until, oops, it doesn't, and we go around the sun. It's that same sort of thing. We thought what we were doing was right back in the 70s, and it didn't turn out to be right. So now we need to sort of continue to help people by doing those basically inconvenient truths about what we should be doing. So appreciate all you're doing for that. Also, one of the things, again, this is one of my goofy ideas that they took off and ran with. We're going to be doing a Hoops for Health for Michelle's place. So it's a place for cancer support, and what I had thrown out there is that all of us think we could shoot free throws, especially those guys that used to play back in the day. And so they're going to be having, essentially, you have two on a team, and you shoot free throws, and if you're good, you go to the next level, and it's all about making some monies to help improve that. So I really like the idea. They went from like 2,000 or 3,000 square feet to now 10,000 square feet. And it's a cancer resource center. It's very, very exciting. As you know, we're a medically underserved area in this area, and so that's our goal, is to get more resources as I could bring civilization to this area. Because when I got here, my hope was that it would become Orange County 2.0. It's like Orange County 0.8. We're getting there. But and we've been essentially an hour from civilization in any direction. I went to UCSD, and then for residency, and I went for medical school, and UCI for residency, and I like a lot of those places, but I do think we have a lot of good things here. So that's our goal, is to keep bringing, hopefully, the best of the best. Very interesting situation with some of our biotech that's coming in, and there is this talk that we want to become Innovation Valley. How we're called like Temecula Valley or this valley. So I don't think it'll be like Silicon Valley. I don't think it's take off like that. But it could be a very, very good place to raise family and to have a healthy lifestyle. So appreciate all that. Otherwise, anybody have any other announcements that they want to chat about? Yes,
I
Cindy.
just have a quick question. I've been with young many people. It says back here, I'm trying to understand the difference between the total carbs and then net carbs. I thought that you took your total carbs and subtracted fiber, and then that was your net carbs. But back there it says 17, and then it goes all the way down to one net carb. And
you can subtract out your sugar alcohols.
I'm sorry?
You can subtract out your sugar alcohols.
But most of them don't, most of your recipes don't have that listed, sugar alcohol.
It's something I'm just putting on because people are questioning it like her. So it's so I can break it down so it's easier to understand. Yeah.
Can you maybe explain sugar alcohol a little bit?
So sugar alcohol, and what I use is erythritol, and sometimes swerve confectioners and frostings and whatnot. So in essence, it's about 70% as sweet as sugar that you know, cane sugar, but it doesn't have an effect on your insulin levels or your hormones. So whereas sugar is going to cause a massive spike, this keeps you nice and low. Correct. Yes.
So the sugar alcohols are also subtracted. They're just not shown.
Correct. I'm upgrading my
Okay, I get
label,
it.
so I apologize for the
No, I
confusion.
just was.
Thank you for
thought my math
asking.
was way
And you
off.
can see how hard my childhood was because she was my babysitter. It explains a lot of how I am.
I'm a teacher, so.
Yeah.
Very good question. I
No, but these are all the things that are exciting, and they understand that there are some people that are sensitive to those alcohols, and so if you're not losing weight, if you've plateaued, well, maybe that's what you gotta cut out. And even though the book says it's not sensitive, those are for average people, you're not average. So that's what I keep sort of having everyone circle back. There's not one diet or lifestyle that fits for everyone. It's all about you. And if you're not getting the results you want, as Einstein said, you can keep doing what you're doing, but that's called insanity. Hoping that it's something different. You got to change your strategies, modeling after successful people. And that's where I can come in. Just shoot me a text, shoot me an email, anything that I can kind of help you to work around that. All right, so today we wanted to, yes?
I have a question related to sugar alcohol,
Okay.
very quick. Is that, as I understand it, you're saying it's in the sweets of baking and things like that.
Right.
Is it also part of alcohol? If you like wine, for example?
I don't think it's exactly like that. It's a chemical thing. Now, that being said, and I'm being very harsh, and there's a reason I don't have very many friends and I never get invited to parties, is that, but if I do, I don't get asked back. So, but in a sense, stevia, monk fruit, all those things harshly are methadone for sugar addicts. So if you like your sugars, it's a great sort of step down. But once you really get in it, the goal is to change your taste from sweet to savory. That's where I think the salt comes into play. Because we only have like essentially two major like tastes. It's either sweet or savory. And that's why that's sweet and sour, all those sort of things. And I think this is one of the theories, that when they took away salt from us, they said that's the bad white crystal. Sugar's the good white crystal. You just basically all go sugar. So if you tell people low sugar, low salt, now they got nothing. I mean, it's basically that's cardboard. So that's why I like the book, The Salt Fix, where you learn to not be afraid of salt unless you have like a kidney problem or some medical thing. And the more salt you get, the less sweets you need. And so, like for me, I don't eat very many sweets. And so when I have just a little tiny bit of that, that's like sucking on syrup. It's so sweet to me because I just don't like that. And so I love the idea that we have these options, but literally most of the people in this nutrition situation have to get over their fear of fat. They need mass quantities of water, much more than they ever needed, and they got to eat salt. Because most of the time what I see is people get dehydrated, they get dizzy because they're not drinking enough water and salt, and they get constipated. Actually, salt can be a sort of something that's like fiber. It'll help you to get rid of your bowels because your body can get rid of salt. So if you eat too much, if you just try to drink too much salt, you'll start getting diarrhea just from the salt. So very fascinating stuff. People get constipated on a ketogenic diet because they're not getting enough water, and then they're not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. But if you want to, you can have a lot of vegetables so that you're actually getting the good fiber, but not spiking your blood sugar. And then with cancer, the goal is to eat as many cruciferous vegetables as you can, but still stay fat burning. So you get all the good of those vegetables without getting out of fat burn. So a little bit technical, very exciting. It's just a little bit on the challenging side, so I'm here to help you with that. So just to let you know, my students, if you guys could put your hands up, Justin in the back, and Margaret, they're a first-year medical student at UCR Highlanders. Can we give them a round of applause? I like you, but actually we were talking about this, because they're supposed to do what's called the PIM project, the Practice Improvement Project. So we came up with this idea that this would force me to get stuff done, and then we would film it and then put it up online. So this is where all of the past ones will show up. And we have a series of websites like this. Margaret was the one that started all this when she was a pre-med with me. And so this is IE for Inland Empire. It's kind of more inland than an empire, frankly, but anyway, they call it that. So this is on diabetes, and the theory is that we want to put all the resources together. So this lifestyle medicine is very, very good for all the chronic diseases. We've picked diabetes, those of you that have diabetes, to try to encourage folks with diabetes to understand that diabetes is a nutritional disease. It should be treated with nutrition and lifestyle. So that's where this is going to be housed. However, it'll also be on my website, and we could put it a bunch of different places. But we have one for sleep, my iesleep.org we talked about last time. We actually have iecancer.org, we have iebrain.org. I just get all these students during the summer, and they're supposed to make these poster projects. I'm like, forget that. Let's get something that's enduring that each year I can add on to. So that's our goal, is to continue to make content for all of these websites and give you guys the latest resources by interpreting the research. So you guys know who I am. Again, we thank UCR Med School, go Highlanders. Appreciate the hospital and all they're doing. I'm interviewing tomorrow for since I saw you last, we got our approval for our residency programs. We passed our evaluation, and so we're going to have medical residents here in the Valley for the first time. So we're going to have 6 family medicine residents, and we'll have 20 internal medicine residents. And then every year we'll get another 6 and 20, 6 and 20. But next year we'll also have emergency medicine and emergency medicine and general surgery interns and residents. And relatively quickly, we'll max out at 177 student residents. You know, they're doctors, but they're residents. And then we'll be doing fellowships, which is subspecialty. So again, this is just like what I did at UCI and what we did at UCSD, that this is trying to bring civilization to this area. So it's getting exciting. We have baby steps, but now Temecula Valley has that. So it's a highly rated program, and now we'll have the academics to kind of boost this, and we'll get more of these scholarly things going out. So I appreciate Temecula for doing that. And then the state of Temecula is why we're in this place, which is great, and they're very excited for what we're doing. They took pictures. They'll be putting this on. So again, if you see a city councilman or whatever, please thank them for allowing us to do all this. So the 7 pillars of wellness, as you know, we do have our project we're doing. If you really if you really want to learn this and hopefully not, that you might want to come join us in Sicily. So this is our little commercial. Interestingly, I got an email today from Marie Emmerich, who's this lady. She's the one that does all the chef stuff. So she wants to talk to me about something, so I don't know if I'm bad or good, but that was pretty exciting. And then, they do all of these sort of things, but I'll be doing the one in Sicily. So again, these are all the things to try to get as many of the resources as we can together.
I'm the secretary.
Oh, okay. Maybe you're the cause. I'll just start apologizing right away.
No. I told her how great it was and that you had her book, the Dairy Free book, and then what you were doing for our community and.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. So we'll see. We'll see what she said. I'll let you know next time.
Yeah.
So again, we're going through what I call the 7 pillars of wellness. We did nutrition, exercise, sleep, and now we're going to be talking about light today. Next week is going to be on water, electromagnetism, and community engagement. So nutrition we've chatted about ad nauseum, but the way to start down that road is avoid grains, potatoes, and sugars. And there's a good book called Undoctored. If you haven't listened to that book, that would be your one to listen to this week. I just really like it. It's by the guy who did Wheat Belly, but it kind of puts it all together. I mean, the goal is to not have a doctor. I mean, I should be your health coach. We should all have fun together, and this can all be good. And when you need me, you need me. But in general, the goal is to be undoctored. You have the technology. We have a team. I can build trust. This can all be great, but that's what you want to look at. As you know, carbs and coal are synonymous to me. They're just a dirty fuel. So you can use coal. It's just not a great fuel. I would argue that carbs are not necessarily as clean as a low-carb, healthy fat sort of situation. So the goal is to learn to burn fat. The ultimate goal is not to learn to eat outside fat, but what? Inside fat. We want to burn whatever extra fat we have. We just learn to burn it. And our body doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know the difference between outside fat and inside fat. And you can do that by just doing a ketone level. So fun stuff. Lent's coming. If Lent was so good, we should do it all the time. Ramadan, any of those religions, we should just do that all the time. So a lot of people have what's called a fasting-focused lifestyle, and it is just an interesting concept. We do have our website, Carbs to Keto, which we're trying to add to. We did talk about motion is medicine, so I do encourage you to have an active lifestyle. Health is your wealth, your body is your business, and you need a body to have adventure. We all have adventure deficit disorder. We want to have fun. We want to go travel. We want to do a lot of stuff. But you need your health. And so I encourage you to both do cardio, both LSD, long slow distance, and the high intensity, but also to do postural type exercises so we have good posture and get rid of chronic stress. And then have enough strength to, especially for the women, to make sure your bones are strong. I really do believe, and we're trying to write this book, strong bones, strong women. But a lot of that has changed in terms of osteoporosis, but that's a talk for another subject. Sleep, hopefully you guys learned a little bit about sleep last time. I'm very much encouraging you to learn how to get world-class sleep, because if you do that, it really changes a lot of things. And then part of the sleep is the light, so that's what we'll get started on today. So light is amazing. It is something that you could spend sort of your whole life learning about. I mean, that's what Einstein did. Some guy named Jesus said he is the light of the world. So if you're at all Christian, you should spend your time learning about light. And I'll give you just an introduction today. So what band is this? Pink Floyd. So young people don't know that. So anyway, so we know that light is really not white light. It's actually a spectrum. So this is a prism. It gets refracted, and you can see all the rainbow colors. So that's what happens. And in the Bible, this is supposedly the promise that God made, that he would not flood the earth. He could do a lot of other things to it. He won't flood the earth. And so this is because the white light goes through water droplets and gets scattered, and we see all the parts of the rainbow. So when you look at light, there's two parts that we know of. So this is part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and this is just a very narrow beam of it. When we get to electromagnetism, we'll talk more about it. But our visible light, it has infrared and ultraviolet. And ultraviolet means beyond the purple. And there's two kinds of ultraviolet. There's ultraviolet UVA and UVB, and we'll talk a bit more about that. UVA is where all the solar damage is done. That's what causes the main cancers like squamous cell and basal cell. UVB is where you get the vitamin D from, and we'll talk about that. So I think it's good to at least know that there's these, and you'll see these nanometers in terms of the wavelengths. But as they get farther up, it's higher energy. But in general, our body likes full spectrum light. The challenge we have is that if you get too much of UVA, like all of us have before we're 18, that's where all the damage sort of happens. So definitely, if you talk to your dermatologist, I'm not telling you to get a sunburn. But I do think that you need to get some sensible sunlight. That's going to be the phrase that we use tonight. But understand, it's the UVA that causes most of the damage. And we'll talk about when you get that, but it's usually early in the morning and later in the evening. So when they tell you that that's the safe time, you should be a little bit sensitive to that, because it isn't, because there's no UVB. And so unopposed UVA is quite damaging. So my opinion is to really be careful with our children to not let them get sunburn, especially before they're 18. I'm not saying you get sunburn after, but that's when a lot of this damage is done. And I have people who, they haven't been in the sun for decades and still get some of these cancers because the damage had been done earlier. And that's why it's reasonable to protect yourself from the UVA, and I just have a lot of respect for it. That being said, as I talked about in my TED Talk, 80% of Americans are low in vitamin D. And what that shows is we have just really a bad sort of light environment. So what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is, as you know, there's always an app for everything. So this is a pretty interesting app that I use a lot to sort of figure out how much sunlight I should be getting. Interestingly, you put in, so it's a free app, it's called D-Minder. You put in your type of skin. There's a Fitzpatrick skin, and if you're like, super fair skin, blue eyes, from Northern Europe, you have a Fitzpatrick type 1. If you're very dark, equatorial African, you have a 6, and it kind of goes anywhere in there. And then you also put down then what kind of clothing, like are you like, for example, on Sunday, which is my Sunday, I will, and this is a little gross, I apologize, I'll mow my yard with my shirt off. So it's basically, I would put that into the app, and then it'll